Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the Wilds War Cry. I'm your host, Stephen Wilds. We went from a pretty spectacular week in wrestling last week to a mostly bland week this week. It wasn't bad, I don't know, it was kind of a letdown from last week. As far as TNA goes, I really want to know why Bram keeps beating Abyss. I like Bram. I think he's really rough around the edges. He needs a lot of work, but I see potential there. But why does he keep beating Abyss? And I know people are kind of... I have friends that say they don't like Bram, and I kind of understand it. So they probably hate this more than I do, because Abyss is amazing. But I don't know. Anyway, I really hope something good comes out of this feud. It was a really good X Division match. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the X Division. I'm also really looking forward to see what they do with the tag team matches that they set up between the Wolves, the Hardys, and Dudley Boys. And I know what's kind of going on with there and why that may end up a little bit differently as far as Bully Ray is concerned, but we'll see how it goes. I like this idea of whoever wins the match getting to pick the next stipulation. This could lead to some really, really good stuff. They had a decent main event for a cage match. The double win was actually not that cheesy. They did it well, so I'm interested to see if they end up making this a three-way dance for the belt or if they do something else to maybe turn one of these two faces, but I don't know. We'll find out. NXT this week had an amazing tag team main event. It was Sami Zayn and Adam Rose versus Sin Cara and Kalisto. And you're probably going to get tired of hearing me say tag team in this episode, but really this was a good week for tag team wrestling, and I'll finish that off in just a minute. But this main event was awesome. I want to go further in to NXT, but there's not really a lot to say except that if you go watch this week's episode of NXT and then you look at who's coming up into NXT, the recent reports about Kevin Steen and Prince Devitt and Kenta, NXT may have the best pure talent roster in wrestling currently. And I just want you to sit back and think about that. Let that sink in for a second. Does that mean they'll be used to their fullest potential? No, of course not. Does that mean they're going to have amazing storylines? No, but as far as just sheer talent, I think we're about to see NXT as just the top of the line with that. SmackDown had a really cool ending to Swagger vs. Rollins with the rope curb stomp. I also really like this thing they're setting up between Swagger and Bo. They continued it on Raw, and I'll get to that in a minute, but it's just fun. I don't know. It's really entertaining as kind of like a half chuckle kind of reason. But this was a pretty good match. I want to like Randy Orton. Actually, that's not true. I like Randy Orton. I want Randy Orton to be liked. And it just seems like he has all the potential in the world. If you've ever heard anybody talk about Randy Orton, his peers talk about him off the record, they talk about all this potential he has and his great physical, athletic skill. And I believe that. He's done some amazing stuff, but I feel like he's just... something's not clicking or something. I don't know what it is. I can't really put my finger on it. But I want more people to like Randy Orton. And I would actually like to see him not back in the title scene anytime soon, but in a good feud. And I really thought this one with Reigns was going to be it. And maybe it still will be. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. The Divas have really been up to something lately. Let's talk about first the match on SmackDown with the interference. It was Paige versus Natalya, and then AJ came out and interfered. That was just it was interesting. What they set up was really nice, and then they kind of did the same thing again on Raw. But they had the weird hug thing, and then I don't know what's going on. It's interesting. I'm watching for a multitude of reasons, but I'm watching and I'm interested. Just let's get somewhere with this. Let's see what happens here. So between SmackDown and Raw, my tag team plans that I had made seem like they're coming to fruition. So we have, the Dust Brothers. They seem to be on a roll, as I will call them now, the Dust Brothers. And they seem to be on their roll, as well as we are going to have Mark Henry and The Big Show versus Harper and Rowan. And that could also be good. There's a lot of potential here, and I want to say that these four teams are kind of building back up the tag team division a little bit. You could also throw in, we do have Los Matadores, right? Anyway, my point is, this could be good. There could be a lot more to do with this. The Dust Brothers turning heel was cool. I think everybody kind of saw that coming. I don't know. For a split second when The Uso was injured. I really thought, oh, maybe they'll go heel. That could be cool. But either way, I think this is going to be some good matches. So we'll see. So I mentioned earlier that Swagger had this kind of cool little thing on Raw with Bo, and that was a lot of fun. The back and forth with him, the 2 segments and all. But I want to talk about John Cena for a minute, and I'm going to use Swagger here as an example. So Swagger had his match at SummerSlam and has had kind of a persistent injury and has come out with his ribs taped and still has them taped. Cena had an even worse match, got 16 suplexes, and was supposedly, devastated. Didn't they carry him out on a stretcher or something? I can't remember. But yet, here we are with Cena, and he doesn't look hurt. He doesn't have any bandages. If he even had just mentioned, I had to get them to, I had to force them to clear me to let me come out here tonight, or I had to go take a concussion test, or anything, it would have helped. We'll get back to Cena in a second. I'm a huge Cena fan, but I have some problems with Cena right now. Cesaro won against RVD this week, and things are okay with the world again. Okay, I changed my mind. I actually want to go back now to the whole Cena thing, because the rest of Raw was really lackluster, except for stuff I've already mentioned. So let's talk about the main event for a second. So we have John Cena going up against Bray Wyatt, which should have been a good match. We've seen them put on a good match. But then John just kind of demolishes Bray, which does no favors for him. It also doesn't help. They're trying to build Cena back up, make him look strong again, so the fans will think that he can actually come back against Brock. I hate to tell you this. I will personally say, I'm not going to bet any money. And I'm not going to say if, Cena wins, I'll give all of you a pizza, because there's a lot of you out there, and that's Lee's thing. But anyway, I will say that I don't see a way in which Cena wins. I do not see any sort of fathomable way or reason why he would walk out of Night of Champions, with his belt. This has really been a kind of, hey, let's waste a month. Let's give Cena his rematch clause so that we can, keep using this whole deal with the rematch clause in the contracts. And let's, have a little bit, hopefully a different match where Lesnar is still dominant, but, Cena puts up more of a fight. Okay? Well, that's cool, but you're destroying Bray in the process. You really are just killing this whole Superman thing. I know we've been kind of putting the Superman metaphors on Roman Reigns, and, like at SummerSlam, they were talking about Randy Orton having his kryptonite and all that. Let's go push that back to Cena for a second. I actually now, because of this, want to see Brock Lesnar destroy him again. I want to see 16 more suplexes. Nay. He's a 15-time world champion. Let's give him 30 suplexes. 30 suplexes, maybe 5 F5s. I want him destroyed at this point, because as much as I do like John Cena, he needs to seriously be knocked down a peg. He needs to come back, not in the title picture, come back maybe in a different feud. I have no clue who with. He's feuded with everybody at this point, pretty much, right? Hell, make him feud against Cesaro again. That was great. They had some amazing matches. But anyway, Raw this week was really kind of lame to me. It was like they had some really good ideas and just everything fell flat. Luckily, this wasn't a go-home to anything episode or something else, because that would have been pretty bad. So my question for the week, we have Impact Wrestling, TNA, which has moved now to Wednesday nights, and it is now official that SmackDown will be moving to Thursday. So what I really want to know from my listeners is, does this affect you? Does Impact moving to Wednesday nights, where there was no real wrestling on Wednesday nights, make you want to watch the show more? Does SmackDown moving to Thursday mean that you'll actually have a greater chance, since you're, I know I'm not home usually on Friday nights, so, SmackDown was always a watch later in the weekend thing for me. But I want to know how it affects you guys. If you have any comments or questions about anything that I've said, you know the drill by this point. You know how to leave comments in the YouTube, on the site. I'm at Stephen Wilds on Twitter. This has been the Wilds War Cry. Have a good one.